I never knew I wanted to be an accountant. I knew that, my father was amazing with numbers, and I always shied away because I thought accountant meant just a bean counter. You're just really good with numbers. And so now I'm here, and this has been just the dream job. It sounds cliche, but it is the dream job. I love it.
Hello, my name is Jeff Sear, and I want to welcome you to the Virtual CFO podcast. The goal of this podcast is to exchange ideas and to offer valuable insights that will empower you to navigate this ever-changing business climate and economy. The Virtual CFO is proudly brought to you by ProNexus, a non-attest finance and accounting firm. Here at ProNexus, the leadership team is primarily comprised of CPAs, former CFOs, and controllers. We are proud to offer 5 core services, including consulting, project work, outsourced accounting, and interim and loan staff services. If you'd like to learn more about ProNexus and any of these services, please visit pronexusllc.com. Thank you. Welcome to the Virtual CFO. Today we have, in my opinion, a wonderful guest. Her name is Stephanie Trotter. Stephanie is a Michigan native. She is the CFO of an amazing organization, Methodist Children's Home Society, where she tells us she's responsible for finance, food services, building, and ground maintenance.
Yes.
Couples very well with her passions, which include business finance and community involvement. And her role there at Methodist Children's allows her to seamlessly combine these passions, which is actually nice. Welcome to the Virtual CFO, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank you very much for being here. And I'd like you to start us off by just telling us a little bit more about Methodist and then also your role there, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you for having me, Jeff.
You're welcome.
So Methodist Children's Home Society is a not-for-profit organization, started off in 1917, providing homes for children who their parents had been lost in the Spanish pandemic. And so 2 women got together, started this organization with 10 children. We received seed money, grew it into the organization that it is today. We currently offer residential treatment for children who have suffered severe abuse and trauma. And then we also provide adoption and foster care services for families who are looking for children we're trying to partner with them and have, find their forever homes. And then just recently, within the last year, we branched out into community outreach programs. And so we have a program, it's called TIPS. It's our Teen Infant Parenting Services program, and it allows mothers who are 18 to 24 to have shelter. They don't have to worry about anything, just getting themselves, ready to get back into society. They're for children their children are up to 2 years old. We also offer our senior companionship program, where we partner seniors with other seniors and just, so they're not lonely and just find some companionship. And then we also have our child abuse prevention program, where we have a diaper bank and just whatever a family may need. We don't count it. We don't ask them to tell us if they receive any aid or anything like that. It's just come in if you need diapers, if you need milk, we're here to help you. So we offer all of that. So we're pretty busy.
That's amazing. I'm going to go off script a little bit here.
Yeah, sure.
Where do you get your funding? Where do you get primary sources of funding?
So 80% of our funding comes from the state. So when children are placed here, there's a contract with the state, and then the state pays us. We get a per diem rate. That's whether it's foster care and whether it's residential treatment. And then we also receive money from our development department, where they raise funds. And then some of the money comes from grants. So the TIPS program is completely grant funded through the state and federal. And then we have some other programs that are split funded like that.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, prior to you being CFO there, I know that you worked in school finance.
Yes.
I know you worked at a mid-sized accounting firm too.
Yep.
You have a bachelor's from a wonderful local university, Wayne State. Oh, a glutton for
Wayne
punishment.
State.
Glutton for punishment. You also have a master's in accounting from Wayne State as well. Well, again, you're probably a very sound technical accountant, but I mean, from what our discussions before, it wasn't a straight path for you to get there. Can you tell me a little bit more about your career path and kind of what you did early on and what led you to this amazing role that you have right now?
Yes. So I was thinking about this earlier. I never knew I wanted to be an accountant. I knew that, my father was amazing with numbers, and I always shied away because I thought accountant meant just a bean counter. You're just really good with numbers, and geometry and trigonometry didn't really feed my soul. And there was nothing I really thought I could apply that with. But I started out working at an automotive supplier because I come from a family of automotive workers, and my father made really good money doing that. And I just thought at that time, money, I just wanted to get out of my parents' house. I wanted to, make enough money to do that, get a car. And so I worked at an automotive plant, and I shout out everyone who works at a plant because it is extremely hard work. You're hot. It's repetitive. My father did that for 42 years, 16 hours a day.
That's
But
amazing, isn't it?
amazing, yes, amazing. And he was never late, never missed a day. That was his, claim to fame. And so I quickly learned that wasn't for me. The beautiful thing about going to college and taking all your prereqs was I was able to try out different things, and accounting just stuck. I love the puzzle piece of it, the analytical side, but really didn't know. I didn't graduate college till I was 30 because it took me a minute to figure out that I wanted to be in college. And I really didn't know the path. What could you do to be an accountant? I didn't have a mentor. I just kind of found my way. And then I said, well, maybe I can be in cost accounting. I started at Comerica. That was just more numbers. And so really, again, I like the puzzle piece of it, but I knew I wanted more of a leadership role. I wanted more challenge. Found my way to the firm. Am I allowed to say the firm?
Sure.
Or no? Okay. I worked at Plant Moran.
Wonderful firm. Wonderful local.
Wonderful firm.
Yes.
Wonderful local firm. They're really big on culture and shaping their staff. And again, I was 30 years old, and I had lead in charges talk. They're 21. But I had to just swallow my pride because I wanted to learn the trade. I wanted to really get into that and hone my skills. And so just really figured that public accounting, I loved going to different clients and meeting people, just wasn't sure partnership was for me. And so I was just able to move into our consulting side. That was with distressed districts, and just, kept moving on from there, getting opportunities, and then landed.
I didn't realize that. So you were doing some school accounting when you were with Plant Moran. That's probably how you got into okay.
Yeah, so I was in their consulting side, and you would go from client to client. And the thing for me was that I would meet people, and you'd get into you go to the organization, you get all their books ready, and then you'd come back and it'd be right back to the same way. And it's like, well, how can I be somewhere where I can put my footprint and really just see things through instead of just being there, setting it up and leaving? Opportunity came up at Troy School District as an accounting coordinator. I wanted the finance director position, but I didn't have leadership experience. And so they tried me. They said, well, we'll try you out. And I just worked extremely hard because I knew that's the seat I wanted to be in. Then I was the finance director there for about probably 5 years. Thought, okay, I need more. It was just, I wanted, again, speaking to my passion I wanted to do more to help. And I felt like sitting in that office, I was calculating numbers, but not making an impact on the children. Moved to a larger district, which was Plymouth Canton. Loved that district. It was a great district. But again, I still had that itch, something is missing. This opportunity opened up, and I just fell in love. I went on my first interview. Kevin Roach is the CEO. He's oh my gosh,
great
Kevin,
person.
He's amazing, right?
Yes.
He is, and he's himself. What I love about Kevin is the Kevin that he talks to you, the Kevin that talks to the public, the Kevin that talks to me, talks to the staff. That is always Kevin.
And that's rare.
And it is rare. He just is himself. He's authentic. He's supportive. And I just fell in love with it. And so now I'm here, and this has been just the dream job. It sounds cliche, but it is the dream job. I love it.
Funny story. When we first pegged you to be a guest, I wanted you to be a guest like the first time we talked. But what I like to do is I like to call the person's boss just to make sure they might have.
Yeah, of course.
So he laughed and he said, "Oh, I don't know why you're asking me. She's the boss." And he said, "Of course she can be on the show." It was a great conversation with him. He is a great person. I bet she's probably great to work for.
He is. He's so funny. He always says, "Stephanie's the brains of the operation. I'm just a pretty face." And I'm like, okay.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your perseverance. I didn't realize you didn't graduate college till 30. That's not easy.
Yes, thank you. No, it wasn't easy, but I had to swallow. I had to always tell myself, you just have to swallow your pride and not really worry about, get caught up in someone who's 21, who's leading and who you have to report to.
Absolutely.
What do you really want to do? So.
And that probably helped you, right? From an ego standpoint, and realizing that you can learn from anybody at that point.
Yes, you're right. I think too it gave me perspective because now that I do lead a team, I know what it's like to, what I used to always do is look at people and say, that's the leader I don't want to be. I would take
Hmm.
bits and pieces, people who I really admired, I would pick up, okay, what do I really admire about them? What do they do really well? What do they do that, they don't do so well? And what could I work on to get past that? And so being in that, it's a very humbling experience
Yes.
because you have wisdom, but you don't necessarily have the knowledge to do the job, and you just have to always think about, well, what's going to serve best in this role and what will serve me best. And it helped me now that I'm in this role to kind of have a perspective and I think empathy.
That probably helps you very much as a leader, I would assume. That's not easy to
Yeah,
do. So you have two boys, right?
I do.
That,
Yes,
that play football.
yes, we are a
What,
football family, Jeff.
what positions and how old, if I can ask?
Yeah, of course. So my 10-year-old, his name is Chase. He plays quarterback. He's been
Oh,
playing football, yeah, since he was 4. He can read plays. I hate to be one of those parents that says, "Oh, he's so skilled," but he is. And my husband played D1 football, and he's really, it's hard to get a compliment about football out of him. But he always says, like, he's like, Chase has it. And then I have another son who's amazing. He has his own set of gifts. So he's 7. His name is Brody. And it's funny because he looks at Chase because Chase is, he's just very athletic. And
hmm.
Brody is just fearless. He's my fearless child. And he wants to do the things that Chase does. But we always tell him, you have your own set of skills. And, you don't have to be like Chase. So he plays football also, and he's a center. But he's 6, so he can play anything, or he just turned
Absolutely.
7. Yeah.
I was in the same boat. My younger brothers are way more athletic than me. And
Really?
I always I can understand Brody. He wants to kind of be that, but sometimes you just don't have the God
You
given
just
gifts.
don't.
Yep. And like you said, there's
Yes.
other gifts there.
Yeah, so we try to push that because for a long time, and then people praise my older son. Oh my gosh, Chase is
Oh,
amazing in front of Brody. So I tell Brody, you're amazing too. And I say it in front of them. I'm like, he's amazing too. Give him some props.
absolutely. Well, you juggle a lot, but I do want to go back to your career because you and I
Yeah, of
had
course.
had a conversation a little while ago, and you talked about not having any role models.
Yeah.
And being a black female in the environment that you're in, that is primarily, well, at least was white male
Hmm.
dominated. What kind of challenges, what kind of things did you think you had to overcome? And I know you're very humble, so I know this won't be off the hook, but what kind of things do you think you had to overcome, and why do you think you were able to persevere to get to where you are?
I so appreciate this question, Jeff, because I have thought about it, more just talked about it, internally with myself. But when I do look back, there were challenges, especially joining a firm. I'll share a story with you that was so embarrassing to me, but it helped me in the long run. When I first started Plant Moran, I went to a client dinner. And my mother had taken me out to eat. I've been to restaurants. I knew where to, what utensils to use and all those things. But I sat down and everyone had I was the first person to get my meal. It was a table of maybe 7 or 8, and I started to eat. And then everyone looked at me because no one else had had their meal yet. And that was just a very small thing. But everyone kind of just looked, and they looked
I
around
get
and they
it.
looked at me. And
Yeah.
I knew from the cues I was doing something that I shouldn't be doing. And I quickly figured out, like, oh, I should wait until everyone gets their plate. So that's just a mentorship thing. And then
It
I
totally is.
felt I was more embarrassed because I was Black, because I felt they're probably thinking that she's Black and she doesn't know any better. Whether that was true or not, that is when you are a minority, that is what you go through. And when you're a Black female, you go through things of, in finance, you should be assertive. You're female, you want to be assertive. You don't want people to think that you're going off of your emotions. But then when you're a Black female, you have to be careful, because if you're more passionate than what they think you should be, then you're angry. And so you really come as, it's hard to be your authentic self. You feel like you can't bring your authentic self to work. My father used to always tell me, you have to work twice as hard and be twice as good, because you
Did he
don't
tell
ever
you?
want.
He used to tell
Yeah,
you
my
that?
father's always said that. Since I was as young as I can remember, he would say, Stephanie, you have to work twice as hard and be twice as good. You can't let anyone discount that you are not able to sit at the seat, and that you don't have the ability. And so it makes on the outside, people will say, oh, you have this great work ethic, but you have this great work ethic because you don't want anyone to question your ability to be where you are
And why you're there.
and
Exactly.
why you're there. And Just experiences about changing my dialect. I've been
Gosh,
told you sound hood. I'm like hood. I mean, I'm from Detroit. This is how I speak, and so you learn to kind of, for lack of a better word, you just put a mask on. You come to work and you blend in, and you don't want to do anything that would cause someone to say, "Oh, well, that's just like you're just like the rest of them."
these
And
conversa
so,
these
okay,
conversations are so important because I can sit here and relate, but I can't relate. I mean, there's no possible way I can relate. And I just think it's so
yeah,
powerful for us to bring this out because the communication, I think, is going to break some of that stuff down, and we've got a long way to go. But what I tell everybody is you can nod your head and relate, but until you sit there, there's no possible way.
yeah,
I didn't even think about dialect and having to kind of
yeah.
change the way you speak. That's just crazy.
Yeah, we call it code switching. You code switch, it's just, you put your professional voice on, but it's even more that you don't want to sound as if you have, for lack of a better word, that you're an ethnic,
Yeah.
it's like the
Do you
ebonics thing.
do you still? I mean, do you still feel that sometimes?
I don't, since I've been here at MCHS, and that's the beauty of
That is
having a
awesome.
leader. Yeah, a leader like Kevin. Kevin doesn't change anything. He's an Asian male, and he's had comments to him. You speak very well. You have your English is so good, and Kevin's his first language is
I'm sorry to
English.
laugh. I
Yeah,
know
people say
exactly.
that to him. I mean, yeah, it's like preposterous. It's just that people would say things, but he doesn't change who he is to make anyone feel more comfortable. I had a situation recently where a vendor spent more time interrogating me about. There were other people in the room, but he said, "Where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Where did you went to private school? Wow." I mean, it was all of these things. And it wasn't a conversation. It was more of an interrogation. And I said, am I being sensitive? Is this really happening? And he finally ended with, good for you. And it's do you belong in this seat? I need to assess whether you belong here. And so Kevin and I, we talk about those things, and he's very, um, understanding. And it's not his thing is more, if you felt that way, then that's probably what happened. So
Exactly.
how can we address that? So I agree with you. It's important that we have these conversations, because I think a lot of it is just implicit biases. You don't know. And I so
Yes,
appreciate you saying that, Jeff, that until you sit in that seat, you really don't understand,
you
because,
don't.
it's a feeling. And sometimes people say you're being too sensitive, but
Not if
I'm
you
not,
feel it.
because
If
I
you
feel this
feel it,
way.
it's your reality, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's your reality.
So we also had a brief conversation, and again, something I'd never even thought about, and I apologize because I'm ignorant to that stuff. Just because
Oh, no, please.
no mentors, you didn't have any mentors, you didn't have anyone you could look up to. And one of the things you said was so important about you landing this role was that you'd like to be an inspiration to some young black girl that wants to be CFO
Yeah.
of something. How did you overcome that? You had no one to look to that I could do that. Did you just persevere on your own? Did you have?
You know what? I will say in mentorship, like my father didn't graduate from college. I'm the first in my family to graduate from college. Not because my father, I mean, I would tell you how brilliant he was. My father is deceased, so I speak of him in past tense, but he never used a calculator because he could calculate numbers in his mind. And he used to tell me, you'll be
Smart.
lazy if you keep relying on that calculator, because you can't do it in your mind. He could do complex numbers. And so he was extremely hardworking. My father was born into poverty, and he, made his way up at Ford Motor Company just based on his work ethic and his skill set. He was a very confident man. My mother was a branch manager. She didn't have a college degree, but her thing was always, why can't I do this? And
Hmm.
so that was my mentorship in my family, was when you set your sights on something, you figure out how to do it and you move forward. What I didn't have was someone to tell me how to get here. I knew I liked
Yes.
accounting. How do I move forward in that? And so I would just watch people, whether I didn't really look at it from a race standpoint. I would just look at people in their seats and how did they get there. I would ask questions. And then I started to see people, they weren't perfect. They didn't start there, because I would
Heck
think,
no.
oh, I can never be there because look how great they are. But I've grown leaps and bounds in 10 years. And so, other people have too. So I would just pick up things and I would step up to challenges. I had a friend tell me I shouldn't apply for a job. She said, you're not qualified for that. I said, but they have to tell me that because I have the skill set and I can learn. I
Absolutely.
know I'm willing to work hard. I know I will research. I will, reach out to people. I'm not afraid of picking the phone up. I would call you, Jeff. Jeff, okay, how do we do this?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I don't think that means that you don't know
Heck no.
something. That's
That's
how
a
you learn.
strength.
Yeah.
That's a strength, not
Right.
a weakness. Yeah.
And so people would just take a chance on me because I would step up and say, well, even though I've never done that, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. So those opportunities will just come along because people will remember you.
Yeah. They know you're going to run through a wall to get to where you need to get to.
That's right.
So your mom and your dad, when you were younger,
Yep.
What about now? Inspirational role models or people that provide you inspiration? Anybody stick out?
Kevin will probably, this might sound like a just
No.
suck up thing, but Kevin, I mean, he really, really inspires me. What I like, I've seen people be one way behind closed doors. And, they'll say they're about the mission of an organization. They'll say they're about their staff. He really is about that. And he's, work-life balance. It's hard when you're in these roles because time, it never stops. You have several emails, phone calls. You have so many people relying on you. And Kevin is very much take time. There is no, well, take time, but let me pile 12 other things on your plate. It's
right.
What can I do to help you? What can we do to problem solve through something together? And so that inspires me because, as a CEO, and I always tell my staff this, he's the CEO and he can return your phone call. He always returns phone calls. He's always available. So I say, if the CEO can do that, then you can do that, when you don't have as much on your plate. So when I look at him and he puts himself in uncomfortable situations, being an Asian male, he goes to these all white events and he just puts himself out there. And his thing is, I'm just me, and if they have issues or if they have these biases and if they don't want to deal with me, then that's okay. He put up a blog about Black Lives Matter and we had a few donors that said, if you don't take that down, we're going to take our money away. And he said,
take it.
Okay. Yeah, he said, well, then we don't want your money.
We don't want your money. Exactly. I love that. That gives me goosebumps too. Yeah, that does.
I just, and I thought that was amazing. So he really just inspires me that I can be myself. I'm going to make mistakes, it doesn't mean that I'm not worthy of being in this seat. And that's just how I learn.
Everybody makes mistakes, obviously.
Right. Yes.
So you get a good segue, even though we didn't plan this. So work-life balance, mother of two, wife.
Yeah.
Sounds like a loving daughter. Is your mother still with us?
Yeah, my mother is still with us.
Awesome.
Yes, she's amazing. Daughter.
How do you balance that then? I mean, how do you do that and be effective?
So my mother, she gave me the best piece of advice. I was calling her, complaining I was working late. And she said, you just got off work. It's 9:00. I said, I have to get these things done. And she said, Stephanie, how many times has your list gotten any shorter? Have you ever been caught up? And I said, no. And she said, well, I need you to go home, be with your family, go to lunch, take some time to yourself because it'll always be there. And I tell myself that a lot of times when I'm overstressed and worked, I'm not a good mother. When I'm like that, because I can't be present with my kids because I'm on the phone all the time or I'm emailing, and then I'm making mistakes at work because now I'm trying to multitask, be with my children and work at the same time. And I've learned to prioritize and I've learned to delegate. I'll tell them, I just had a situation yesterday, had a grant that had to be done. And we have some time to get it done. And I know it backwards and forward and I can do it, but I have a staff person who it's their responsibility. And I said, well, I had to tell myself, Stephanie, is that a good use of your time? If you take it on, you could get it done, but then that staff person is not able to, they're not being challenged. You're taking on more work. And that's what leads me to get stressed out. So I just will tell myself, I'm present for my children's events. When I get home, I turn my phone off. I'm present with my family. And I just have to prioritize. And I don't wait till the last minute to get things done so that I don't feel that pressure I've got to get this done today. But I think it's really about just prioritizing, delegating, and really what my mother said, it's all not going to be done today. So tomorrow is a new day.
Isn't that simple but great advice?
It's so simple, right?
It's so true. It's always there. You're right. It's never going to go. You'll never get it all done.
Yeah. She's like, Stephanie, has your list ever gotten shorter? I'm like, no. She's like, okay, then go home. Like, yeah, you're right.
Do you see yourself as a mentor?
I don't, because like you said, and I almost feel like it's a fake humble, but I think it comes from kind of always having to prove yourself to be in a position. And so I don't always see myself, but people tell me that.
Yes,
they'll say, I had thank you, Jeff, you're so complimentary. I had a young girl tell me, she said, Stephanie, I appreciate that you're yourself, which is what I love about Kevin. I bring Stephanie to work. I'm not changing my voice. I'm silly. I take the job seriously. I don't take myself seriously. I crack jokes. Um, I'm not always, my husband is Mr. Etiquette. I don't always have the best etiquette. He is Mr. Etiquette. But it's just that's me. And so it doesn't mean that, you can't do a job. You know when to be serious when you need to. You know when to, when you're in a room with certain people, when you need to turn it off, turn the silliness off. But so I think that, her telling me that kind of made me be like, okay, you know that you're a leader and people are watching you, but
Yes. Well,
they really think of it. Go
it
ahead.
makes you relatable too, right? I mean, it can, if you're yourself, and you know this better than I do, but then they can say, I can be myself too and get to where she is maybe one
Yes.
day.
Yes. No, and people know when you're not being authentic. I
Oh,
had learned that early on. I hate being fake and I don't like fake people. And I can tell when people are being inauthentic and they're trying to impress me.
yes.
People do it now when they hear my title. They're like, oh, no, and they start doing their whole spiel. And I'm like, please calm down. Like, it is not that serious. And I can tell you're not being yourself. Just be yourself.
Absolutely. And you seem like you're always yourself, which is great. And everything that
I
you've
try to
done to
be.
get to where you are a mentor. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to run from that. So
Oh, thank you.
it's nice that
I
you
appreciate
embrace
it.
it. When did you find out that you wanted to work for a nonprofit? Was that kind of something that a current that life just took you there, or did you make a concerted decision to go there?
I knew that I had tried to volunteer a few times. I knew I wanted to be involved in community outreach. I wanted to do something with, basically what you spoke about earlier, just young girls who didn't necessarily have, they knew they wanted to go a certain pathway and didn't really have someone to show them how to get there, whether it's just you're a little rough around the edges. People have told you that there's some things I've heard people say, well, so and so's not that polished. And so, how do you get those skills to become what people call polished? So I
Hmm.
wanted to do mentorship in that way. But just I wasn't able to free up my time enough to just do it consistently. And then I thought about, what if I worked at a not-for-profit? But you want to work at a well-run not-for-profit, an organized
Absolutely.
not-for-profit. And so when this opportunity opened up, I went and I would tell anyone I did my homework, and this is the best advice. I read financial statements. If you have severe losses or you're relying on your endowment completely, that tells me, something's not
It's
going
not.
on or something's not right.
Hmm.
If you got read the audit reports, they'll put it on their website. You can see if they have findings. That can be a plus if you feel like, oh, okay, I can come in there and help them
Make an
strengthen that
impact.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if they're running out of money, that could be something that you need to, you don't want to get there and you're in the paper or you're a scapegoat and it's something that didn't even have anything to do with you and they're closing that next year. And then I just did my homework on Kevin, read his blogs. And once we met, I was just like, okay, this is the place for me.
Yeah, he's legit.
Yeah.
His
Yeah, this
blog,
is legit.
he is legit. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get fun for a little bit. You're at the
Okay.
office. You're at the office, grinding away, doing work.
Okay.
What's playing? What kind of music is playing?
Oh my goodness, Jeff. I listen to trap music, rap. And
You do-
sometimes I have to
I love it all the
sometimes I
time.
have well, I'll listen to R&B. I like
I was just saying. So,
old school. I like I'll listen to Jodeci, Mary J. Blige.
oh, Mary J. Blige. So, if you're
Um,
chilling at home, that's what's in usually.
yep, I'll listen to Maroon 5.
Oh, love Maroon 5.
Maroon 5, love Maroon 5. So I'll just listen to all types of things. But then when I need to get hyped up a little bit, I'll listen to some really raunchy trap music. My husband
Good.
is so, he's like, I know you're not listening to that at work.
The etiquette side of him, right? He's saying,
That's all he's Mr. Etiquette. Why are you listening to that? That's so unprofessional.
Hey,
Calm down.
that's what makes you you. Exactly. It's music. It's funny because I was talking to my parents and I hear them. Well, actually, no. I'm old, so I hear me
Yeah.
talking about the current music, and I know
Yes.
my parents talked about my music, and it's just an evolution of things, right? I mean,
I
it just
know.
continues. It's just different, so we don't
It's
understand it, so
different.
we criticize it. It's
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because my son, he listens to the clean part, but to me, it's mumbling. And so I said, "What are you listening to?" And my husband had to remind me. Who's Titus? I can stop saying my husband. Titus says, "Remember how our parents felt about our music." So you're right. It's just different.
it is, and I'm trying to tell myself all that all the time, and then as you probably do too, you become your parents
You
usually, right?
become your
So
parents.
just because as you get older. All right. So if you had to tell your younger self something, and I don't want to get
Mhm.
too deep, but
Yeah.
you've overcome a lot. I mean, what if you had to tell your younger self something? What would you tell yourself?
Don't listen to the naysayers. A lot of my blunders that I made, or a lot of times when I didn't, I believe I landed exactly where I should be right now, but a lot of times I didn't go for things because I would listen to other people, because I didn't speak in the way that they spoke, or I didn't have the same pathway because I started my career so late. And I would listen to, what people would say about me is, well, you need to, you haven't done that long enough. Are you sure you're ready for that? That's going to be a lot of work. That's their perception. What is a lot of work to you is may not be a lot of work to me, and I welcome the work.
Yep.
And so I would tell myself, don't compare yourself to other people, because like I said, I would look at someone like you and I'd say, I could never be where Jeff is. He's just so together and he has all this knowledge, not realizing that you started at some point. And so that's what I would tell myself. Don't worry about what other people think. And, everyone started from somewhere.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing I'm pulling out of you is something your parents gave you was confidence. And man, you cannot replace that. Did they instill confidence in you?
Oh, my dad, I know I'm just talking about him a lot, but
Okay.
He would say, cream rises to the top. He used to always tell me that. And he'd say, you are cream. I want you to remember that. And I mean, ever since I was a child, he would tell me that. He would just say, he'd have all these different sayings, but he would, tell me all the time, and he'd self-esteem. He would talk about, looking in the mirror and just liking who you are. And the biggest advice that he gave me that I still listen to today, he told me that life is like a movie. And when you look back on that movie, you want to make sure that you did everything you wanted to do. You want to be happy with that movie, because when it's over, it's over. And so that's just what I tell myself. You know what? I'm terrified to do this. This is terrifying. But if I don't do it, I'll be more upset with myself than if I just went ahead and went for it. And maybe I'll fall on my face, but I know that I'll bounce back.
That's a beautiful gift. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
kids nowadays, I see and I feel bad, the ones that don't have confidence, because
it's
they have so much
hard.
to overcome. They don't want to take those risks. And
Yes.
I commend your parents, because that's amazing. And that's hard to
Thank
do.
you.
It's hard to instill that in people.
It's hard. I struggle with it sometimes, but
Do you?
yeah, I struggle with confidence.
We all doubt ourselves, right?
Yeah, we all, that inner critic that tells you, like,
Oh,
maybe you shouldn't do this.
exactly right. And it's
Yeah.
always there, darn it.
Yes.
If you could leave and this is totally, I'm just making this up right now, so
Okay.
it comes across.
I
If you
like
could
it.
leave one or two sentences for your boys, what would you tell them?
Oh my gosh, that's so off the cuff, but that's
Yeah, I'm
that's
sorry.
deep.
That
Well,
is
no,
off the
I
cuff.
love it. No. If I could leave one or two sentences for my boys, um, just that, I guess I don't always want to tell my children you can do anything that you want to, because that's not true. If you don't have the skill set,
Oh my God, I
it's
love that. No one says that. It's so true, though. Thank
it's
you.
not true. I mean, let's just be real. I can't be a surgeon. I
Right.
might want to, but I just don't have the skill set to do it. I could
Yes.
really study, but I would just tell them, if there's anything that you want to do in life and that you have the skill set to do, don't be afraid of the work.
That's awesome.
And I would tell them, don't chase money. If you love what you do, the money will come.
Oh, that is the greatest advice, because I had a great upbringing too, but you just kind of follow that. The goal of college was to get out and make money, not to get out and get a
Yes.
job that you love.
Yeah,
So
they're like, no.
you made the decision to go to college later. If
Mhm.
you had to tell people, was it worth it? Now, I know it was worth it for you, but
Mhm.
what advice would you give to people that are, do I go or do I not go?
I think for me, if it was worth it for me because of the career that I wanted to be in. I knew I could not. I knew that eventually, once I figured out that you could use accounting to be a CFO, I knew that I needed to get my degree. I had to have a master's or a CPA. I had to have all those credentials. But I think what people have to realize, if you're going to college because your parents told you to, or because that's what society tells you to do, and you're not enjoying it, and there's a field that, even if you're an entrepreneur and you know that this is your passion and you believe in yourself, then it's not worth it to throw away. College is $100,000, to go to school if you don't get a scholarship. To spend that type of money to impress someone so they can ask you, because I hate when people ask that. Well, do you have a degree? Well, why does that? What difference does that make? It's none of your business if I have. I don't mind saying it, but
I know.
I
I
don't
agree
think.
with you.
I think that causes people to say, well, I have to have a degree so that, people will know that I belong in the room.
Exactly.
And if you know that you have a passion for something and it doesn't require a degree, I am wholeheartedly for that. I would tell my boys that.
I was just going to ask
You know, you don't.
You would?
Yeah, I would tell. Oh, yes, definitely. If they do something that they love and they can make a living, even if it's not, if my children make enough money to just support themselves, if they want to live very modest life, and if they say, I can make $40,000 a year, I can live off 40,000, and I'm happy.
Happy?
I would be. Oh yeah, I'd be like, I'm all for it. I want you to be happy, because once you make more money, it's just relative when you don't like the job, because you start to buy more stuff and you want to keep up with the Joneses.
To make yourself happy, and then it's a hamster wheel, right?
It's a hamster wheel, yes. And so I don't necessarily believe that you have to make money to be happy, but I also know that if you love something, I do believe that the money will come because you're so passionate about the work, and people will pay you for it.
That's amazing advice. And it's true. It sounds so trite, but it's absolutely truth.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it sounds very simple. It's like, well, yeah, and there's a grind to it. I think that's the piece sometimes scares people off. You're not going to make the money immediately. You're not going to have it requires work, but it will pay off if you're diligent about it.
Well, there's a new study that just came out, right? Just literally this morning, said doing for others is more important than doing for yourself as far as the happiness continuum goes. So hopefully you're happy, because you're doing a lot for a lot of other people.
I am. Right now. Yes, I am very happy.
Your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, Jeff. So I say I don't chase money, right? But I had an opportunity open up for me, and it was $30,000 more than what I was making
at the time.
Mm-hmm. And it was a leadership role. It was an executive director role. I don't even put it on my resume because it was such a bad decision. And it was at an organization that had a bad reputation. So when I talk about being a scapegoat, this was what this position was created. They created this position to basically have a scapegoat. The person who pursued me, I felt like it was a courtship. Pursued me and wanted me to, you're so great. We would love you here. We have this executive director position. I was a director at the time. It was $30,000 more. My gut kept telling me, don't take it. Everyone else kept saying, don't take it. Even, people who I looked up to, are you sure? My mother, are you sure? I don't know about this. I said, well, it's $30,000. And I kept saying, it's $30,000 more. I'd be crazy not to take it. And it's a leadership role. It was awful.
Was it?
The minute I got there, they told me they wanted me to reorganize my whole department. There were 24 people that reported to me, and they kept bringing in leadership positions, paying these people, six figures, but their staff hadn't had raises in 10, 15 years. The culture was awful. And the CFO at the time told me, I reported to the CFO, and he said, if you don't start making changes, it'll be like death like 1,000. He said, have you ever heard of death by 1,000 cuts?
Yeah.
I said, yes. And I said, well, I'm not going to reorganize a department when I don't know what people do. I hadn't been there more than 2 months. And he said, if you don't start doing that, it will be death like 1,000 cuts. I said, okay.
Was it a nonprofit?
No, it was not a nonprofit. Yep. But my advice, and this is about knowing your worth, I told him, well, it won't be death like 1,000 cuts, because I have a few things working for me. I have talents, I have experience, and I have connections. And so, I quit. And people thought they thought I was crazy, Jeff. People were coming by my office. I quit. I put out a few feelers. I had my previous boss called me and said, how are you doing? I said, I hate it. It's just what you said it would be. I had to eat crow,
Your previous boss even told you not to take it?
Yeah, he told me not to take it. He said, why are you going there? And I said, because are you crazy? And he said, right. I just kept saying that. And he said, it's not, I can't pay you that, because I would be making what he was making. So he said, I can't pay you that. And I said, well, it's challenging. And I tried to put all these things in it. But in that 2 months, my husband told me that he told me one day that he was talking to me, and he just stopped talking. I didn't even ask him to finish his sentence, because he said, that's what you do all the time. You're so engulfed in this job. It became obsessive. They would text me at night, and I would talk, and I would talk about it constantly, And he said, we haven't had a conversation about anything other than your job since you took the job. And that's when I realized, because I love my husband, I'm happily married. And I said, why am I doing this? Because I didn't want to, it wasn't worth it. And I knew people would say, well, you had only been there for 2 months. Nobody does that. You just don't quit a job after 2 months. I've been at Plant Moran for 7 years. I was at Troy School District for 5. I was here for 2 months, and I just said, you know what? I had another opportunity, which was Plymouth Canton Community Schools, and it was a director position. It was less pay. It was more than what I was making before, but it wasn't as much as this position. And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna go back to what I know. And I I had heard good things about Plymouth Canton, and I quit. Didn't put it on my resume. Didn't use them for any type of recommendations.
Well,
But
that goes back to the confidence. When you know.
yeah, it was just, and I realized, and it was a large organization where they had a lot of issues and they were in the news. And I said, I realized what's going on here. So when things go wrong, you're going to blame it all on Stephanie, and nobody cares about the story. They just care about the headline.
That's true.
And so I was just like, yeah, I gotta, I resigned. So it was a failure in a part that I didn't listen, but it was also a lesson to me that I have to stick to, just don't chase money.
What's amazing about that story is you said your gut, and if you were raised right, I'm not even sure that's the right statement I just made, but if you were raised right, always trust your gut.
You trust your gut.
It's never wrong.
It is. You're right.
I'm 50 years old, and I have no idea when my gut has ever been wrong. Now, I haven't listened to it all the time, let's be frank, but it's never been wrong.
When it's something that's kind of detrimental that can harm you, you may not listen to your gut when it's something like, I should have did that. That would have been a great idea.
Or not eat that ice cream cone.
Yeah, I shouldn't have had that ice cream. That probably wasn't the best life choice. But when it's something that's, okay, this is something that could be detrimental to your family. This is something that, could cause you some stress. You're right. And that's the one time I didn't.
No, sounds like you've learned from it. Well, I just want to say thank you very, very much. You were awesome to talk to.
Thank you, Jeff.
I think people are going to dig this. I love how genuine you are. So I really appreciate it. I do want to give you some time to say a little bit more about Methodist. Do they have anything coming up? Do they have anything coming up from a fundraising standpoint?
Oh my goodness, yes. So we have our annual golf. I appreciate this because we always have to do the plugs.
Absolutely.
We have a golf outing on June 28th, and that is, I believe that may be sold out. But then we also have our annual gala. It's a beautiful dinner. People get to dress up now that, everyone's pretty much vaccinated, right? We have the COVID-19 is hopefully a little bit behind us. We have our gala that's usually at it's a ritzy place. I think it's going to be at the Henry this year. And then if you can't make it to that, we do have this Holiday Lights Joyful Nights event. And so it's in December. We have a Christmas tree farm. I bought a Christmas tree last year. It lasts for 2 weeks. It was beautiful.
Wow.
You can drive through our campus. Our campus is 80 acres, and we have homes here for the children. We decorate the homes. We have Santa. We have hot cocoa, food trucks. It's a beautiful event.
That's awesome. When is the gala? What month is the gala?
The gala is usually in October.
Awesome. Yeah. I will be at the gala.
I hope so, Jeff. Yes, it will be lovely to see you.
I would love to be there. So do you have anything else you want to add? This has been great. I really appreciate your time.
No, I really, really appreciate you talking to me and having me on. This has been the highlight of my week. I was a little nervous because Kevin probably laughed because I don't where are you? Yeah. You seem so natural. You just, the flow, you keep the conversation going.
CFO, Well, thank you very much. I hope you play this for your kids. They're lucky to have you. We were lucky to have you as a guest. And if anyone wants to reach you, is there any what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So I'm shy on social media. I don't have those Twitter and all that stuff, but I do have a LinkedIn. So you can reach me on LinkedIn.
And Stephanie Trotter,
Stephanie Trotter. Yes. Yep.
Thank you, CFO of Methodist Children's Home Society. A wonderful guest. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye.
Bye, Stephanie. Bye.
I want to thank you for listening to the Virtual CFO podcast. The Virtual CFO podcast is brought to you by ProNexus, a non-attest finance and accounting firm. The leadership team here at ProNexus is comprised of CPAs, former controllers, and CFOs. We offer 5 core services, including consulting, project work, outsourced accounting, interim and loan staff services. We're thankful that you listened to the Virtual CFO podcast. If you'd like to learn more, please visit pronexusllc.com. Thank you.